Welcome to the IAG Thursday Thing. This thing we do every Thursday where we all hang out and chat about what's going on. Sometimes we have guests on, sometimes we don't. Sometimes we cover interesting topics. Sometimes we just leave it kind of wide open. And wide open is kind of what this week's thing is. We had some stuff move around. And, that happens. People have schedules and other stuff that they need to do. And that's kind of what happened this week. So this is turning into what I like to call an Ask Dewey week, where we just kind of open the floor up and whatever's in the chat, whatever we want to talk about, we can talk about. But mostly what I want this to be is a question and answer segment on whatever is on you guys' minds. And these are fun. So if you haven't seen it already, the very first thing I did when I realized this is what this was going to be was yesterday, I opened up a thread inside of the IAG Insiders Subaru Lounge, which is a Facebook group, and just it basically said, "Hey, we're going to be wide open tomorrow. You wanna ask anything?" And open it up to pretty much whatever types of questions you want. And I mean, it's really wide open. But it's a safe place. It's a safe place to ask stuff. So there's some topical questions, some non-topical stuff. We'll get to all that. And then, who knows where we'll go from there. There's all sorts of fun stuff to chat about. But the one thing I do want to talk about here real quick is, and I'm getting this question a lot by customers and shops alike, what's going on with the IAG air oil separator? It's pretty rare that we are out of stock of these. And I want to explain kind of what the situation was and why we went out of stock and what happened. So long story short, we changed some stuff on the AOS. Now we're still the V3 AOS, but let's call it like a V3.5. Okay. Though I don't think we're going to officially call it that in any way. Essentially what we did is we switched. I don't know. Warranty, have you ever installed an AOS?
Not personally. I've always had.
Okay, I guarantee Dylan's installed a few of them. Dylan. Well, Dylan's in here. I don't think he realizes he's on mute. But I'm sure Dylan has installed a few of these AOSs. Long story short, they can be kind of a pain in the ass. They take a lot of time. If you're good at it, you can knock it out pretty quick, but that's if you've done a million of them. Okay, well there you go. How many? You've definitely installed some of these AOSs, correct?
So I've been
Dylan.
In the performance world. Before I worked at IAG, I definitely installed quite a few, and so seeing the changes from what they were.
Well, let me explain what some of those changes are real quick, and then and then I want to hear from you on how since you've installed a billion of these, I would like to hear your thoughts on it. So long story short, basically the clamps were a pain in the ass to mess around with, and you had to cut some hoses to length depending on what intake manifold you had or what version of what you had. The majority of that is gone. Everything is going to be cut significantly more accurate. So unless you have some like really custom setup, the length of the hoses is going to be a lot more accurate. All of the hoses on the AOS itself are switching over to a quick disconnect style. So that'll be super simple for people from now on.
Cool. Nice.
Yeah, it's just honestly that was the big one. And then anywhere there was clamps that we could do on our end, so you guys didn't have to do them on your end, we did. So this should make it significantly faster. And it should be more accurate, quite a bit faster, and it makes you guys' life easier on your end. We're having a lot of issues with the admittedly kind of cheesy PCV that we were using for years. We're going to a much more OEM quality PCV now. that little plastic one, it'd fail after a few years. It was dirt cheap to replace, but kind of a pain in the ass. We're getting to a nicer one now, which is awesome. Other than that, it's as far as install and everything, they're the same. There's a bunch of people who have them on back order right now. Anybody who's got it on back order or has ordered it and is waiting for it, you're going to be getting yours. It will be a new one. You're not getting the old one, you're getting the new one. You've just been upgraded to the new one. All of the 08 to 14, GR, so any 08 to 14 WRX and STI, those are going to be ready to go tomorrow. And people have been waiting weeks on these things, so they'll be ready to go tomorrow. Those will be on the site, in stock, ready to go tomorrow. If you've already, if you've been waiting on them, there's a good chance it's getting packaged right now. VA, both VA, WRX, and STI should be done and ready to go. GR should be next week. And then there's a couple of the odd ones, like the 22 WRX, I think is going to be 2 weeks from now. And the GR, the GD chassis should be next week. But they're all going to be ready to go here real soon. So no big deal. But if you got the most popular ones, like I said, the GR, WRX, and STI, so 08 to 14 STI and the VA, WRX, and STI, those should be ready to go tomorrow, which is super cool. For people who already have AOSs installed, is there a conversion kit for it? I don't think so. We will have all the old hoses and stuff on the site for you to buy if you need to update it. We should have the new PCV also on the site if you want to upgrade to that. Past that, it's more of an install thing. They're going to function the same. But Dylan, you've messed around with both of them, my guy. What's your take on the updates that they made to this as far as, from an install perspective? What, I kind of want to hear it from you.
So over the years, I've always hated the clamps and clamping the hose to the AOS and those black clamps that we used for a long time. Personally, I didn't like them. They looked great. They worked great. I just didn't ever like installing them. So everything being quick disconnect now is really nice. I mean, literally, it just connects right on. So that's probably the biggest update and really the most favorable thing I can see on my end.
I like the fact that we're making the hoses the proper length for it. We're getting way more accurate with the hose now too. That's going to be nice. So
yeah, way more accurate. Everything is, the quality is only going up.
Yep.
So that's nice to see. The clamps on the hoses, where the quick connects are, all of that's super nice.
Nice. So that's your AOS update. If you guys were wondering why they've been out of stock or whatever, that's why we've been making that update. When we first switched those quick disconnects, I think this was supposed to be like a seamless change, but we had some QC stuff on our end that we weren't happy with these quick disconnects and how everything worked, and we didn't want to release a half-assed product, and unfortunately, due to that, we did have a little bit of a hiccup in our supply chain, and that's where all that came from. We'd rather get you a good product than something we're not proud of, and that's really what it came down to. So, cool. Well, guys, it's a wide open segment here. I'm gonna head over here to the IAG Insiders Lounge in the Ask Me Anything question area, and we're gonna try to answer some of these questions. If you guys are down, I'm down. So let's just start from the top. Nine Lives Arrow Johnny Chichowski asks, if God is all-knowing and all-powerful, can he himself microwave a burrito so hot even he can't eat it? I don't know. What's your take?
No.
I would say... What's your hot take? I'm gonna go with probably not either. Then again, I mean, you can only get something so hot, and I don't think that affects him. So we'll go with that. Then again, God can do whatever he wants. If he wants to burn his mouth with a burrito, that's on him. All right. Here's an actual question. Now, I actually did some research on this to see if I could figure this out. And unfortunately, I don't have a great answer. But Paul Hara asks, I have an 08 STI. Swap the front and the back seats for some leather seats out of an 11 limited STI sedan. For some reason, the passenger seat is really low to the floor with the limited seat. My question is why? Is the floor pan that much different between the hatch and the sedan? A few years after I did the swap, I bought my very own 11 sedan and it didn't seem to feel low at all. Thanks. I'm currently in Florida and most likely won't be able to watch live stream, but he'll listen to the recording. Okay. Paul, I'm going to answer your question right now with, man, I went and did some digging. There is no difference in the floor pan and no difference in those seats. The only thing I can think of is, you know how many people don't realize that STI seats in a GR are height adjustable? You know, almost every Subaru driver's seat is height adjustable. I wonder if that he's used to the driver's seat and it's jacked all the way up, and the standard level of the passenger seat is really low. It was one of the things I always liked about the GRs is you sit really low in them. It's nice if you're a tall guy. You know, there's lots of headroom. The GRs always, from a fitment standpoint, an ergonomic standpoint, always worked really well for somebody like me. But I actually looked at part numbers too. They're the same. Honestly, the changes in those vehicles do not start till after the back doors. So I'm not sure what to tell you, my guy. Wish I had a better answer.
Sounds like he's talking about passenger seat versus passenger seat.
He is though, but that's what I'm trying to say is I wonder if he's like trying to compare the height based on the passenger seat and the driver's seat. And he's like, I don't understand because either way, passenger seat to passenger seat, I can't think of any reason that a GR seat from any year 08 to 14 would sit any higher or lower than another GR seat. I even checked part numbers.
Was there ever a WRX that had height adjustable passenger seats?
Not that I know of.
Okay.
And these are both STIs
Wild.
even.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I kind of feel like I'm a little bummed about this because I was hoping I could. I saw this and I'm like, okay, I'm going to do some research. And I poked around quite a bit this morning. I probably spent a hard 20 minutes on this, looking up part numbers and trying to see what the situation was. And I cannot for the life of me figure out why it would be lower. So sorry, bud.
Could it be different padding, says Safety Mike?
Well, I think maybe that seat was broken by a heavier individual.
Could be.
I can tell you 02 WRX seats, my 02 WRX seat that was in my 282,000 mile WRX, which was by far my favorite OEM seat ever, felt better than any other OEM seat I've ever sat in, and it did sit a little lower, but I can tell you some of that came from the fact that my ass print was in that seat in the exact perfect spot, and I'm pretty sure I might have even had some like wiring or something in the bottom that had broke, so it sunk even more. It was perfect.
When you're tall, this matters.
Yes, it was absolutely perfect.
I want to go sit in my Outback because for some odd reason, I feel like my passenger seat does sit lower than my driver's seat. And that's not a direct comparison to passenger and passenger, but it makes me wonder.
You're wondering, right? Like, and I couldn't figure out a reason why. Anybody who sat in bug eye seats before, I'm telling you, you're gonna for just a daily driver seat. If you're under a 36 or 38 waist, good luck finding a better seat. They're so comfy. They aren't pretty, but oh my god, are they comfy. All right, well, let's get on to the next one. The next one's kind of fun. Austin asked a very open question, so this could be entertaining. all the kinds of anti-lag, what's best and why. Also thoughts on Subaru's Rocket anti-lag. Well, Austin.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah, Rocket anti-lag is cool. The best implementation of Subaru's Rocket anti-lag is when somebody used it in S2000.
Big Bad Wolf.
Yep, Big Bad Wolf, and I love that guy. Either way, yeah, when he used it in that S2000, that was insane. There was also another guy who built his own and had it in a GD STI running around with it. So what James just asked is exactly true. And I'm gonna, or he just mentioned in the chat, is he basically said it's too open of a question. The only way to answer it is how are you using it? And that's really it. A lot of people get anti-lag and launch control mixed up too. Okay, there's different types. So I went and poked around a little bit, but there's your typical anti-lag. Oh man, there's no such thing as typical anti-lag. Let's start from the bottom here and let's talk about launch control, okay? Because this is what people are thinking about with anti-lag, but launch control and anti-lag are two different things. Launch control is something you can do with an ECU for the most part, but it's because you can have the throttle wide open. You don't really need secondary air injection to make it work. The whole concept of anti-lag, though, is you're trying to make an explosion or exhaust energy when you're really not on the throttle or you're really not moving. So at a time it normally wouldn't have it. So basically when you have little to no load. And the concept is to either make boosts off the line, which would be launch control, or make boost when you have to get off the throttle in like a rally or a road course situation or something like that. When you get off the throttle, some sort of energy is being either recycled or made to keep the turbo on boil, okay, and keep boost up, just keep the turbo speeds up
without engine load.
Without engine load, and that's the key. Engine load makes a bunch of exhaust pressure and exhaust energy, and that's really what a turbocharger just recycles. That's the whole concept behind it. But you get different types of launch control. The two major types are your spark cut and fuel cut. Fuel cut's what a lot of the OEM launch controls are. That's also the style of launch control that you would use in like a Cobb launch control style. That's going to be a fuel cut launch control. And essentially what that's doing is kind of setting up a artificial rev limiter. And that's exactly what it is a fuel cut. The concept, both of these concepts work, but a fuel cut tends to be less aggressive. When people are hearing where they think like launch control or two-step or whatever, what they're normally talking about is spark cut. Okay, now spark cut's the opposite. That's cutting ignition. Okay, so it's basically getting shit hot or throwing fuel. It's hitting either hot exhausts or valves or building up some fuel and then hitting it with ignition and creating a bunch of exhaust pressure with the valves open, or exhaust energy with the valves open. Both of these though are not easy on a vehicle at all. They're not easy on an engine. Honestly, any anti-lag isn't easy on an engine. Spark cut is really hard. Long story short, you're basically trying to make a big nasty explosion within the cylinder to blow a bunch of energy out past your valves, so it'll also melt your valves and shit, and create as much exhaust energy as you can to keep the turbo on boil. Now, these are the ones that sound cool, make all sorts of flames, yada, yada, yada. These are, those morons who are sitting in parking lots and just living on their two-step launch control. You've all seen the videos, okay? The ones that sound like shotguns going off and all that noise. 2003 Supra videos, all of that. And don't get me wrong. Like, it's effective. For launch control, it's effective. Now, what it's not going to do is help you when you're, let's say a rally situation or something where you got to get off the gas and get back on it, and you're trying to keep this big turbo on boost. There's still not enough time for that process to bring your turbo up to speed, because it still is a ramping situation with that. So what a lot of the like World Rally teams and stuff, so when we're talking about proper anti-lag, we're talking about WRC stuff. There's a lot of different ways that they went about this. Essentially what they would do is throw a shitload of fuel and then add air into the exhaust itself.
Directly to the exhaust.
And the combustion, so the explosion would happen in the exhaust. And that was ungodly effective at keeping the turbo on boost. Now, they would do this a few different ways by opening air valves, like a bypass valve or something from the turbo area. So from the cold side, and moving air in. There's a few different ways to do that. But it is so hard on turbos. And even your spark cut and fuel cut's really rough on turbos, but man, like proper anti-lag is ridiculously hard on turbos. If you aren't like directly sponsored by a turbo company and or have literally just millions of dollars to throw in your race program, anti-lag's not a great idea. One thing though that I always thought was kind of cool. Did you ever see how the like the 90s Evos, and I'm sure you heard of the Group NROM, but the 90s Evos had like bracketing and stuff set up so they could add a like a fresh air anti-lag system to them and still stay within Group N rally limitations?
No, I did not know that.
Yeah,
it's wild.
See, this is some of the stuff that I loved about 90s Group N cars and homologation cars. It is these two companies, it was Subaru and Mitsubishi for the most part. Don't get me wrong, Toyota was farting around with it, Nissan was farting around with it, Ford was farting around with it, but it was really Subaru and Mitsubishi when it came to Group N. These companies, this is why we got WRXs and Evos, why we got STIs and Evos, and they developed them to the Looney Tunes amount that they did, and why you had so many of these like Subaru STI or Subaru Impreza WRX STI version 3 limited RA, like they just keep tacking these things on because they wanted to make them, they had to make so many of them to make it legal for whatever class they're running, and most of the time it was Group N, where if they had to have so many of the original model, and it was a lot, it was like 5,000 minimum models, but then they could make homologation tweaks and they'd only have to make like 500 of them. And so that's why you had like the, the version 3, or sorry, the Evo 3, like I did they call them the RA, not the RS, that would come in all sorts of wacky stuff. And they would, like I said, they had almost everything you needed to run fresh air anti-lag on that. And Subaru later on kind of got really good with this. And in the original Bug Eyes, this is where the Group N ROM came from, and why the Group N ROM has what they call rotational idle, which kind of works like anti-lag. Which essentially is more of an ECU-based thing, but it was just a tweak they made to the stock ECU to do stuff. Like, you're still using the stock ECU, they just manipulated the living crap out of that stock ECU, and through that is where Carberry's ROM came from. That's why
Hold on. There's a lot going on here. So first of all, rotational idle is firing one cylinder out of 4 in a rotation, correct? So that you don't have a lot of engine load, but you're still generating a lot of exhaust back pressure with just air getting pushed through the engine?
That's the concept, yeah. You're basically just trying to pop shit.
Okay, so you've got
cylinders that
25%
are
of the
being
power.
fired to keep it idling, you're going to have another cylinder that's open, so the valves would be open, so it would fire, a combustion event and fire the injector
and force fresh air out of the non-firing cylinder.
No, it would force combusted air. It was hard. It was very hard on the engine.
Okay.
These Group N teams didn't give a shit.
It sounds amazing too. So
Rotational idle sounds awesome. Yeah, immediately your RPM goes up. Like if you're idling at 800 RPM, you turn on rotational idle. Immediately you're at like 3,000 RPM, and it'll never go under that.
Okay.
And this was all on the stock ECU. And so essentially what Jason Carberry did, hence Carberry's ROM, what he did was break that ROM down and make it tunable. And that's also how they got speed density working on the 16-bit ECUs. They later on managed to even get flex fuel working on the 16-bit ECUs. Carberry's ROM was pretty advanced for what it was. And
rumor has it that he borrowed that from an actual rally car. It just happened to run on the stock ECU.
It did happen. That's all it was. That was just a version 7 ECU. Group N rules stated they couldn't run an aftermarket ECU.
Right.
So they're like,
very close to production.
It basically was production class rally. And Group N in other areas of the world is huge. During that time it was massive. But there were only like 2 teams really fighting for it. Subaru and Mitsubishi. So
all anti-lag is harsh. However, nowadays with the ECUs, and we were just talking about this with Graham a few weeks back, bleeding pressure from the cold side, there are ways to keep boost up without using anti-lag.
That's kind of some of the concepts we're working on. Anti-lag, honestly, for the most part, isn't helpful on a road course because most of the time you're up at a fairly high RPM. You're not having to leave corners at like near stopped. You know what I mean? You don't. There's no reason you need to blow the tires off and rip out a 5 mile an hour on first gear pole. For the most part, you're even a really slow corner is going to be second gear at a higher RPM. Okay, like it would be an incredibly slow corner, and then between gears isn't going to be a problem. So as long as you're in boost, you're fine. Now, there's a couple of different ways to go about it. This is one of the things we're going to be doing with Boogie. Is you still, if you can, there's going to be partial throttle instances where your blow-off valve normally would open up and let all that boost pressure off. So what we're kind of looking at doing is, it's not really anti-lag, but the concept is if you don't bleed all that pressure off, you bleed just the amount you need to not let the turbo slow down. So you're not having a surge situation too, where, pressurized air is trying to make its way back through the turbo, slowing the turbo down.
Organized boost leak, right?
It's an organized boost leak to keep turbo speeds up. So when you're mid-throttle, the turbo speeds stay up. So when you get back on the gas, it's immediately there. So it should drastically reduce lag. That's one of the things we're going to be messing around with this year. And now we got TurboSmart and M-Tron on board. This is going to be sick. Stay tuned for that. We've got some really, really cool stuff coming with that. I'm very, very stoked about that stuff. But that should be pretty massive for track guys with large turbos and small displacement. Anybody who's running a large turbo with small displacement, this should be interesting to you if you at any point are doing partial throttle stuff. For a drag car, ain't gonna make a damn difference for you. If you're doing anything where you might be at a partial throttle, though, this could be huge. So, yeah, we kind of covered anti-lag and stuff that isn't anti-lag, but people think is anti-lag, and I think we kind of covered that. I hope we covered that enough, Austin. If you got any other questions, do not hesitate to hit us up. Well, let's go to the next one. Justin Gora.
First generation Jetta.
Yeah, first generation Volkswagen Jetta. I'm pretty sure I can get away with this, even though this is a Subaru oriented podcast because the amount of people at IAG who are Volkswagen heads are unreal, including JJ himself. He's asking, how do you keep my VR6 cool while adding boost? I mean, this really just goes down to track cooling in general. I mean, honestly, in his situation, what I'd be doing is VR6 is already run hot, and that kind of translates over into Subarus. Put the biggest damn radiator you can in. That's going to be a really good start. But you can have the largest coolers, the most efficient heat exchangers you have on the planet for an oil cooler, an intercooler, a radiator, any of that. And none of it will mean crap if you don't duct it. Ducting is everything. And ducting is not just air in, okay? Ducting is also air out. You have to look at it like pressure. You want to keep higher pressure in front of the cooler and lower pressure on the back. And if air has an easier way to escape, it will. Okay, so you're going to have, if you don't duct everything and it's easier for the air to go around the cooler, it's going to. And air has to go through the cooler for it to do anything. So I guess my suggestion to Justin is duct it. Duct the crap out of it.
For the radiator, talk to your the dirt track guys with the custom radiators that you guys got for Boogeyman.
Great. Mm-hmm.
Forget the name.
I do too. Maybe Dylan remembers. Those guys are awesome. Kaiser, yes, great dudes.
Radiator.
Kaiser radiators out of Coopersville, Michigan. Great dudes.
Yeah, those guys are awesome.
Kaiser. Either way, awesome guys. Great radiator. Freakishly effective, and they'll make it in whatever damn size you want. So get one of those.
Not only that, but the time frame. When we needed a radiator for your car, it was in a very short time.
Dude, it was like 3 days. We had a custom radiator.
Yeah, from the time we called in, gave them dimensions, and to the time that I was putting it in the car was literally 3 days.
So, where can I ask questions? Where?
Right there.
Oh, yeah. Well, okay. James, I'll get to you. I'm trying to get through these questions in the Ask Me Anything, and then I'm going to go back through the chat. Okay?
Facebook first, chat second.
Yep. I got to take care of Facebook first. James, I do want to comment on that. He used a scratch and dent Mishimoto that was on sale. Now, with that stated, James had a drag car. Those cars hardly get up to temperature by the time it's all said and done. So, I'm not saying a dent and scratch Mishimoto wouldn't work for a drag car. I'm sure it would. Dent and scratch Mishimoto, I gotta be real. Friends don't let friends run Mishimoto on track. I've personally had some serious issues, especially with their oil cooler and their oil cooler lines, of almost burning my car down. Not a fan. And nowadays, the pricing of it went up to the point where you can get a CSF for the same price, if not cheaper. Why wouldn't you? But if you need to build something custom, if you need to take it to the next step, and we are not sponsored by them in any way. I can't even sell the product. That Caser radiator, it was incredible. Yeah, we got a bunch of great questions coming. I'm going to try to boogie through this because some of this is junk. Spaz, when is my ECU coming out of your car? Spaz, I have bad news, and I'm afraid you're going to hear this in this chat. I am sorry. It has been claimed by Dylan. he ganked that shit, and it is in his. It's sorry, bud. It's in his legacy already.
Never say that the Mitsubishi Subaru rivalry is dead. It still comes out in these weird, edge cases. This is one of them.
Yes.
You're in line. I'm sorry. Somebody was in front of you in line.
Somebody with a Subaru was in front of you. No, it's Dylan, man. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I still love you. If you need help getting one, hit me up. We'll figure it out. I'm not even going to answer that because I don't know how to answer that. Will you drive my car and tell me how to make it turn gooder? Isaac Ambrose. Yes. Tell me
Buy
where.
track insurance.
Buy. Well, I'm less worried about it if we do it at Gingerman.
Buy
Come to
motor
that first
insurance.
Gingerman event. Come to that first Gingerman event, and I will find some time to rip your car if you want to slide in. You got to be in the car with me when we go ripping, and if she shits, she shits. Chris Sproston, the front end guy at 6-Star Motorsports, if anybody is wondering, when is the silver GD coming back to life? I'm assuming what he's asking about is the
wife's car,
mine and the wife's STI. We bought it for her and then I stole it. Hopefully soon. The plan for that is to stick a 750 in it. An IAG 750, and basically I want to do what I call my do everything car, which I sell so many of these that I want one personally, but I want a 750 with a 1.5 XTR and some basic flex fuel. And really, I should have saved the damn Helltech for that, but whatever. We'll figure it out.
We take that car down to Tail of the Dragon with the BRZTS. People would just lose their minds.
Oh my god. And that car is fast. Like, that car was fast then. It's going to be better now because I can do certain things to it that aren't holding it within a particular class. I may or may not, instead of getting that 1.5 XTR, get a whatever the hot class legal street turbo is. Because one of these days I want to just drop it on Spaz and smack his wang again. Just because that's where all the fun is. Spaz so mad he left. Aw. So, yeah. I want to put that together again, though. I love my 05 STI. Really, really love my 05 STI, so I want to get that back. Okay, and then one more. Robert Phelps, anything new for the FA24 on the BRZ GR86? Kinda. I'm going to let you in on some stuff since this is kind of an IAG Insiders thing, but we are currently testing our own oil baffles for the FA24. Thank God. And we're also looking at what it's going to take to start putting together built engines for those. That is coming here real soon. We don't have a prototype built for it yet, but I know it's something that is on the table. So that's all I got for you right now as far as that goes, but we're getting there. Okay. Let's get up here and
stay tuned. Stay tuned for some media content coming.
Yes,
I know Foster has some cool stuff lined up.
We got some cool stuff coming down the line with our in-house new BRZ. That we've got some content with that, and then we have also partnered with a few Grid Life regulars in the Club TR scene, trying to we want to get the product tested. But again, we want to test this before we hand it out to anybody. And we're really, really against just sending something out that we think is going to work. We need data. So we're working on it. All right. We are finally into the chat. Let's see if we can find Flanny Man. Oh, that's his question. Okay. Wait, where are the questions? Well, now you can ask any questions that are asked in the chat now. We will catch up on them. I'm going to try to start catching up. Patent 2003. We'll start with James May's Shed. What was the rule change that made Jackie's car illegal?
Ooh, can I answer this? Can I answer this unofficially? There was no rule change. It was a reinspection.
That's exactly what it was. There was no rule change. No, rules did not change. It was something getting clarified, and after that clarification, things were deemed illegal. So I don't really want to get too far into that. I'm trying not to start shit about that, but what I will tell you is from here on out, you will see that street modified Supras, the front ends of those cars look drastically different. So the factory anti-lag option on non-US domestic market emissions Evos worked. Yes. You killed Kenny 404. What would cause excessive loss of oil in a 2011 STI? There's no apparent leaks or anything. I'm new to Subarus and boosted cars in general. Well, there's quite a few things that can cause that. It really depends on how many miles are on your car. And is it OEM or not? There's a lot of things, but the reality of it is, an 11 STI is starting to get up there in age. Okay. It's probably got some miles on it. I'd have a hard time believing you don't have less than 100,000 miles on that car at this point. So Subarus and just boxer engines in general, they're going to burn a little oil. It's going to happen no matter what. When you turn the car off and everything just sits, a little bit of oil is going to pool on the bottom of the cylinder. When you fire it up, it's going to burn. Okay, you're gonna lose some oil. That's normal. Subaru also. Well, let's go into the cylinder walls. The cylinder walls are pretty thin, and if you look at most Subaru engines that have some mileage on them, the cylinder walls tend to be a bit deformed, and that's going to open up clearances from the piston to the wall, especially right up near the top. This is why we go closed deck on any of our higher horsepower built engines. So anything over about 400 wheel, that tends to happen quite a bit faster. But below 400 wheel, time will also just do that. And you're going to get, again, the piston to wall clearance is opening up a little bit. You're going to get some blow by. There's two things that would happen with that. You're going to burn a little more oil, but you're also going to introduce more pressure into the crankcase when the combustion event does happen. So what makes that even worse is Subarus really don't have the greatest crankcase ventilation system. So they naturally get a decent amount of blow-by. Blow-by being oil vapor that essentially makes its way into the intake sucks it in, and it's either in your intake track or your engine burns it. This is one of the main reasons we're really big on air oil separators and why we went through designing the crazy-ass air oil separator that we all know and love today. If you don't have an air oil separator, look into it. Probably help you out a lot. But it isn't going to take care of everything if you got a bunch of miles on the car. Not only that, if you have a built engine and you broke it in like ass, the problem will be, exasperated. Also, like, just mileage in general, it'll happen. Subarus are going to consume oil. They're not rotaries, but they do consume a decent amount of oil, and it's pretty normal. So it's not something you really need to freak out about unless it's a ton of oil. It's very common with pretty much any turbocharged vehicle, but Subarus in general. Let's say you take your intercooler off and you see even a little bit of pooling, but just a film of oil on everything. That happens. You add an air oil separator into the situation. That'll pull a lot of that out of there. There's a lot of advantages to getting that out of your intake track too. Anytime you add oil into your air and fuel mixture going into your combustion chambers and that firing, the combustion event happening, basically adding fuel into that or adding oil into that, it effectively lowers your octane. And octane essentially is the resistance of the fuel going off at the wrong time. So if you have oil in your intake track, there's a very good chance you're going to start running into knock issues. And that's where ringland failures happen, bearing failures happen. It happens. So again, one more reason, air oil separator, extremely good idea. And it's even a bigger deal. It's honestly, even Grandma should be running an air oil separator. But it's a bigger deal with the lower octane fuels too. So if you're out there with 91 octane fuel, get an AOS. Spaz is talking about Evo stuff about the bracketing and the fuel system was factory installed. That's really cool. Nothing tops 90s 4G63 like Busher Power, bro. Yeah. Man. Hey, I miss those like John Shepard days where, this guy's literally got a dump box DSM and he's out there just doing damage. Like that car, when it was, what was it at its peak? 2004 would still be competitive today. Like that's how fast that car was. It was so insane. Oh man, old 1G DSMs, they were the best. Yes, thank God for Carberry. My 03 WRX loves it. A bunch of us ran Carberry back in the day. Carberry's ROM was really, really a godsend. We got a lot of comments about that in here. That's pretty cool. Josh Aldrich, a longtime regular listener. Speaking of radiators, Ron Davis just charged me the rest of my balance. Must be on the way. Ron Davis makes an extremely nice radiator. That's sick, dude. That was my old radiator in Boogie for a long time until it got a shotgun wound.
Where did it come from?
Where did I get that one from? Oh, that one came from Will All Young. Yeah, that was one of Will All Young's leftovers. So that car or that radiator saw some shit.
Will All Young, the unlimited Civic.
Honda. Mm-hmm. Yep, the
Royalty
fastest front-wheel drive to ever go around Tsukuba.
Yep.
Will All Young.
Time Attack royalty.
Yep.
That radiator. Wall.
We got a lot of questions in here.
Yeah, we do. I'm trying to catch up. What I had a customer say, I know you guys work with Subarus, and I have an Evo. It's basically the same thing. No.
No.
No, it's not. So, question on performance downpipes. Turbo XS makes a 4-inch cast that necks down to a 3-inch in the mid pipe. Does the extra inches make better exhaust flow compared to something like a Cobb? Here's the reality of it. Turbo XS for years also made what we call the whale penis downpipe, which is still my favorite stock location downpipe, by the way. But the reality of it is you're not going to make any... How do I want to put this and I'm not going to piss anybody off? Long story short, you're splitting hairs over nothing. All right? Don't get me wrong, that 4-inch opening, necking down is super cool. I don't want to take anything away from that. Are you going to maybe gain a horsepower or two? Sure. Is it really going to outperform Cobb's by a ton? Absolutely not. Or an NVIDIA or whatever. I got into it with a guy the other day about divorce wastegate versus not. And as long as the divorced wastegate downpipe he was talking about literally just had like the wall in the bell mouth opening, I'm like, it isn't going to make a difference. Not enough for you to even matter, for you to get bent out of shape about. But with that stated, stock location turbos past about 450 wheel start running into efficiency issues. There's no getting around that. Okay? I'm not saying you can't make a clean looking 500 with it. You can. But the efficiency issues start at about 450. The reality of it is you can only pull so much air through a 3-inch inlet and get so much exhaust out of a 10 centimeter hot side. That's your limiting factors. And stock location Subaru turbos, that's pretty much the end of it right there. If you plan on going past 450, you should be looking at rotated anyway. And will that difference in the 4-inch to 3-inch, necking down slightly less of a, harsh edge, is it really going to matter below 450? Not really. I'm willing to say that's within margin of error is the difference that would make. So that's my 2 cents on that. Man, the debates back in the day on that, though, oh my God, that was a Nasiak hot button topic. That was right there with what oil should I run. It was bad. Big talk. Feel free to keep making your way down here with me, my guy.
I'm looking.
All right.
Doing a little work on the side.
Here we go. Why Spec Auto? Would a VB trans be considered an upgrade from a 5-speed if you could fit it in a hatchback WRX? Well, let's talk about that real quick, because I've been asked something like that before, because the VA uses the same trans.
But 6-speed, we like to call it 5+1 speed.
It is the 5+1 speed. That basically is a 5-speed with an extra gear. Now, we probably should have talked about this during the DCCD chat. Was there some ever so minor upgrades made to that, and do they seem to hold a hair more power than the old 5-speeds did? Yes. Are they a 6-speed, like STI 6-speed? No. They literally are a 5-speed with an extra gear.
Same size case as a WRX 5-speed.
Same size, yeah. So physically, it would fit. Now, the shift mechanism is different. These are cable-operated shifters from the VA and the VB versus linkage-operated shifters in the GR and the STIs. The linkage-operated shifter just straight up feels better. I will argue the best you're ever gonna make a cable-operated shifter feel is a stock STI shifter. The STI shift feel, the second you put bushings and stuff in, is incredible. It's honestly, it's one of the best shift feels of any car on the planet. And I dare somebody to find a better one, especially after you do something like the Holy Shift kit from Turn-In Concepts or something. It turns into a freaking rifle bolt. If you miss a shift past that, after putting that on, it's your fault. It is not the shifter's fault. Okay? So, would it fit? Yes. I'm not sure what would have to be converted to make it work with your linkage, or if you'd bring all the rest of it over to use the cable-operated stuff. My 2 cents is it's not really worth it. If you're going to go through all of that, get a frickin' STI 6-speed. It's not an upgrade enough to matter. Most of there are some big power VB guys out there who are already trying to shove STI 6-speeds in there, because it was just a matter of time. Peanut, how much horsepower and torque can you safely push on a stock RA block? The same as you can with any Subaru stock block. Stock. And even that's not exactly safe, because we all know that Subaru's quality control these days is less than fantastic when it comes to EJ stuff. Gotta be real. We have them on our site, okay? And they're an awesome option if you need to get that car up and running to turn around and sell it. That's my 2 cents on that. If you want to keep that car around, if it's something that you want, that you're going to keep for years, and you want to be reliable, you really should be, at a minimum, talking to us about a 550 block.
Dewey's opinion has not changed since becoming employed by IAG.
No, my opinion's been like that since... Honestly, the last reliable Subaru engine that I can really go like, that came from the factory and I know that's going to be really rock solid between certain horsepower levels, was an EJ207. And like a version 7, version 8 EJ207, especially the version 8s when you could get them and they didn't have a ton of miles on them. Now they've all got 1 billion miles on them. You have no idea how they've been treated. You can't pick up an EJ207 to swap in your car and you can trust it anymore. Just buy a built engine, and if you take care of it, it's fine. A lot of people get really worried about built engines and driving them as a daily or something like that. You know, can you really daily forge pistons and all that? Yes. There's certain things you have to do though. It's not bad.
All the time.
I've done it for years. We've got customers with over 200,000 miles on their old Stage 2 blocks, which is essentially what our 550 is now.
Drive ethanol when it's freezing, too.
Yeah, on ethanol when it was 30 below. There's some keys to it, though. One is you have to let the damn thing warm up. If you let the thing warm up, your oil consumption goes right through the floor. Okay, so you're not going to burn anywhere near as much oil. That engine will last you a really long time. They're great engines if you take care of them the right way. You know, so fire the thing up, let it warm up. You know, if you've been inside of a movie or something, let the thing warm up before you take off. And break-in is really important. Can't stress enough how break-in's important and changing your oil is important. Especially if you are running ethanol, you really should knock your oil changes if you're down, quite a bit. 3,000 if you're running on, 93 pump gas. 1,500-ish if you're running on ethanol.
Check with Blackstone Labs, see what they say too, because that you can go far nowadays on modern oil. But
yeah, we're talking.
AG knows better than warranty,
buddy. Yes, shut your mouth, warranty. Moral, no other than pocketbook and time. There's no reason not to change your oil. Okay. So, stock power. Sheesh, how's it going?
It's going great.
Trying to get there. List best to worst methods for money to keep Subaru from overheating. 06 STI overheats in traffic sometimes. Flanny man.
Best method. Turn the car off and then turn it back to start and let the fans run. Cheapest. Best.
Well, I mean, if it's overheating and it's not hot out, you might have something else going on. The first thing you should check is your radiator like hurt? Or what I've seen, and I tend to see this up north a lot, the AC condenser, all the fins are bent, like they're all smashed over, so no air can get through the AC condenser, so no air is getting through the radiator. I would check that. Make sure your fans are running the right way. Okay, it's really going to depend on, do you have any aftermarket stuff going on with a car or what's going on? But those are things I would check right away. When's the last time you flushed your coolant? And then are you smelling coolant or anything like that? Because if you are, you might have a leak somewhere. And the coolant system works on being pressurized. So if you have a leak and it can't get to that pressure, the boiling point's going to happen much lower. And you're going to start running into problems that way too. So, James Mays Shed again. What are your experiences with turbo FA20 BRZs? Potential or just moving into something else? Honestly, turbo FA20s, they're surprisingly reliable. The cool thing about the 86 and the BRZ is, unlike the same era FA20 WRX, is you have the option for port injection too. And that's pretty sick. Having the option for port injection allows you to be able to just upgrade those, so you have the fueling system to do quite a bit more. But I've seen guys run around for years on stock FA20s, tuned correctly, and these are reasonable human beings, street use, at low to mid 300s for years. And honestly, in a BRZ, that is screaming. that's a fast car. You can have a whole lot of fun with that. If you want to turn it up past that, and honestly, you're still on borrowed time even with that 320 or so wheel. If you want to go past that, I'd recommend at least putting a bottom end in it with some head studs. You do that, and then you're good to the low 400s for just about as long as you want. You're going to break transmissions all the damn time, but those are like $300 to $500. So you'll have a great time. The cars are a total riot like that, and good luck finding a chassis that's better than that for under $100,000. So,
next question.
Lies.
IAG AOS clog.
What? Aldrich, shut up. I'm not even going to answer that. 585 wheel confirmed for 20,000 miles on a stock RA.
Only for YouTube.
Yeah, that only happens on YouTube. Driven like it's supposed to be. Josh, good for you. That block is not. People can also bring up CJ from 06, who was running around at 600 plus horsepower for, a decent amount of time, making a pile of drag passes and on a quote unquote stock engine. So I don't. there's ways to approach everything, and some of it is just dumb luck. Really the thing that kills me about Subarus are quality control these days. Blocks did not. There you go. Like he said, like James said in here, I've done a stock engine 05 STI to 700. Tuning methods got better. Blocks did not. Also true. Back to the oil loss conversation. Can an IAG AOS clog or have issues and let more oil back into the intake? I noticed an uptick in the last few months. No, but what can happen is the PCV may no longer be functioning the way it's supposed to. Or maybe you do have another issue. Maybe you have I hate saying this, but crack in the ringland. Maybe your piston wall clearances are opening up. There's a lot of different things that can cause that. But the IAG AOS, for the most part, you really can't clog it. Now, one thing you do hear of every once in a while is in really cold climates during the winter, condensation may build up and then it'll freeze overnight. And when you first start it, if you don't let the car warm up, you may run into some issues of that backing up. I cannot stress this enough on letting your car warm up. But if you're running an AOS in the winter, let the damn car completely warm up. Can't stress it enough. Okay. But as far as an AOS clogging, no. If you manage to clog an AOS, you have way bigger issues. James, believe it or not, the RA blocks are actually softer and more likely to blow the mains out compared to older castings. That is true. The metal is actually softer. Dewey, speaking of AOS, what are your thoughts on Night Motorsports AOS valve covers? It's pricey. Have you seen these guys test in comparison to your... I haven't seen any of the testing, but my initial thoughts is technically our valve covers have a quote-unquote air oil separator-ish thing already built into them. They seem a bit... Man, I don't even want to say that. It sounds nasty, but they look really cool. I don't think they're worth the money. I don't think they're worth the money. I don't believe you're going to get enough of that air and oil separation. And not only that, this isn't helping much with your crankcase itself. You know, your main vents. It's cool. It's cool as hell. But I don't see it, my guys. Maybe it would help in a more extreme track situation. It definitely looks cool. I can't see how it would hurt in any way, but I don't believe it's not going to work quite as good as our air oil separator will. 3MI drain hose is a great add-on to the AOS. I actually want to run one of those. I think those are pretty sick. There was some talk of us maybe getting some of those in. We'll see. I think people thought we were going to be grumpy about somebody trying to make an addition to the AOS, and I think it's pretty cool. I think it's overkill for some people. Your basic street AOS, I don't think it's a big deal, but maybe for a track car that's moving a lot more oil, that drain hose might be helpful. We're on the Get a Dom chat. Several users have gone through several 3MI replacements because the hose starts leaking under extreme turbo heat. Even with the heat sheath, 3MI is aware of the issues. Well, that's the first time I've heard of that also. So maybe I'm sitting here talking about sticking it on a track car, and that might not be the answer either. Mike over there is a smart guy. He'll get it figured out. Flanny Man, what EJ intake is best overall? 500 horsepower-ish. Stock STI, NA long runner, Cosworth, or other aftermarket? You say 500-ish horsepower. The reality of it is anything under 500 in aftermarket intake manifold isn't going to do much for you. Might do a little bit, but not much. My 2 cents, if it's not really worth the investment or the pain in the ass for under 500 to look into an aftermarket intake manifold. Past 500, now you really start getting into where you're going to want that engine to breathe, and there's going to be some gains for that. The NA Long Runner, right in that area, actually is going to have some gains over the stock STI manifold. It's got a little bigger plenum, which is kind of what we're looking at, and it's also got the runner, the flow rates for each of the runners are really, really similar. So they're going to flow very accurately. NA Long Runners are really good, and they're cheap, but then you have to modify it and everything else. By the time it's said and done, the reality of it is by the time you get an NA Long Runner on your car, it will cost you about $1,000. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. And it's a valid option, but it does start to, it's not going to be as effective as some of these larger manifolds. Cosworth and an NA Long Runner, in my opinion, are very similar. As far as how they flow, the Cosworth has got some big old meaty runners, and they did a lot of work on that intake manifold to make it right. But I don't think the Cosworth was ever thought about for the kind of power we're making with these cars these days. In my opinion, anything past that, my favorite manifold is going to be the Corsa Veloce. And that's the one that most people think is some knockoff of a Process West, but it's actually the other way around. Corsa Veloce was the original maker of that manifold. That was the version 1, but it was freakishly expensive. It was like $6,000 back in like 2002. It's crazy expensive. Looked really cool though. Only seen a couple of them. And one day I saw Process West was selling this. Come to find out, the guy who ran Corsa Veloce started working with Process West. That's essentially the version 2. It's a great manifold. I don't want to, and people have made crazy power on that thing. It's got a huge plenum. It's got big old fat short runners. It's everything you want for making high RPM. Okay, big power, high RPM. It's the right answer. Okay, and it's got a single centered plenum, which again is I'm not going to get into other manifold designs, but you really can't split plenums on a Subaru. You start running into problems. So, I even had one of those manifolds. Going back again, it was awesome. It definitely did the job for what I was doing with it. Corsa Veloce, that guy kind of fell off the face of the earth for a long time. Process West kept selling that manifold, and I don't know how or what the situation was, but he decided he wanted to start selling manifolds again, and he improved some stuff in his design that he wanted to do during the version 2 but couldn't. That's what the version 3 is, and that's essentially what's getting sold by Corsa Veloce now. I'm probably the only person who has ever had a Process West and a Corsa Veloce on the same engine, and got to test them back to back. They are really close, but what I can tell you is the Corsa Veloce is a little bit lighter, the machining is a little nicer, and it does flow more accurately runner to runner. There is some improvements that were made. If you put them right next to each other, they look really similar, but there's some very, very small differences. If you've got a Process West already, is it worth getting a Corsa Veloce? Absolutely not. Do not do that. Okay, we're splitting hairs again. If you're looking at one or the other, though, get the Corsa. Just get the Corsa. It's a better manifold and it's essentially the same price. You even get color options and stuff. That's the route I would go. Rumor has it that we may actually have some of those sitting on the shelf here soon too, which would be pretty cool. Probably going to be more in the basic colors. I don't know if we're going to get a cool guy purple one or not, but we'll see. Who knows? Yeah. Live in Florida. Follow water truck. Hose tap. Hose tap water is the best coolant, best internal ecosystem combo on it. Yeah, I tell you what, straight water or water with water wetter, nothing's gonna beat that as far as coolant. Beth at IAG, shut up, Dewey 2024. James, CJ's car pushed a gallon coolant on every pass on the stock engine. There was literally a gallon jug hooked up to the hose. And it's sort of stuff that people don't talk about. I kept making passes on the stock engine. Yeah, but it was also pushing a gallon of coolant every time it went down the track. These are the things people don't talk about. I'm just saying. C. Cortez, thanks for your response on the AOS clogging. Doesn't that install remove the OEM PCV that sits above the block? Is there something from IAG that I need to replace in terms of valving? We have the valve that comes with the IAG AOS. There are plastic ones. I'm not gonna lie, they wear out after a while. We have them on the site. They're dirt cheap. Give me a quick sec, I'll actually let you know how much it is. They're $3. Okay, so maybe buy a couple of them. And you can get them right on the site. You just basically type in PCV in the search, and it'll pop right up. So, that PCV is they go out. It happens after a while. You know, they're a basic plastic PCV. We do have new cooler PCVs coming that should be a little more robust. They're obviously going to be a little more expensive, but even if you quadruple the price of this, it's still going to be, less than $20. So, I can keep you updated on that. But if I were you, I'd just pick up one of these, buy 2 or 3 of them, then you're good for the next forever. That's one of those things, throwing $3 at something isn't really throwing money at it. Check out the new Torque Solutions intake manifold, supposedly a better and much more improved version of Cosworth. I'll just preface this right now, Speed Jammer. I'm not going to buy anything Torque Solutions makes or rips off. We don't talk about Torque Solutions around here. That company is nothing but a bunch of rip-off artists, and all they do is rip stuff off. I can literally go through their Facebook page. I did this once live. It was great. And every single one of their products, I went and found that the product they ripped off. And that's all that was. It was a 2-hour live cast of me just finding Torque Solutions and stuff they ripped off. I'm not allowed to do that stuff anymore. I get in trouble around here. But yeah, that's no bueno. We don't talk about Torque Solutions around here. It's not promising. Honestly, they don't even understand how it works. They have no idea how that thing functions. And you're better off with a Corsa Veloce. It works. That's not on you, but the amount of people who don't realize that company is so shady, it sucks. And what really blows is I actually have a part of theirs on my car, because nobody else makes it. They do make a couple of kind of, well, I'm not going to go innovative, but a few products that nobody else makes. And that's the solid joint for the shift linkage. It's like the solid U-joint inside of the U-joint piece. It's completely solid. And it doesn't use bushings whatsoever, and it's like that part's good. You know what I mean? And where else are you going to get it? It's an easy product to make. I wish we would make it, but I don't know where else to get it. They have a massive amount of production capability. I wish they would use their powers for good, not evil. Good to know the whole aftermarket manifold history. I had no idea. And that doesn't even begin to start with other intake manifold concepts throughout the years. One of these days, maybe we'll have a tuner on and have a conversation about why you can't split manifolds or split plenums. But you can't split plenums. Basically, I don't know if it's your front or your rear. Basically, front cylinders or rear cylinders run lean. The other ones run rich. Like if you have 4-channel EGT or 4-channel wideband, then you can run that setup and you can make it work, but you would have to have like a standalone ECU and everything else to make it work. You only have one O2 sensor normally, and that 102 sensor is taking an average of all 4 cylinders. So you can't do that. Who is Warranty? Warranty is a good buddy of mine. Him and I have been doing Subaru track stuff for years and just Subaruing in general. And the Warranty is basically my polar opposite. So he's kind of like my Andy Richter, who he tries to help me keep my sanity on these. So I bring him on here and he chats it up. He's honestly just a buddy and a Subaru guy, and he is unaffiliated. So sometimes, you can, and he actually trusts Subaru to do the right thing most of the time. And
like
so
I said, polar opposite of Dewey.
Polar opposite of me. So who is Warranty? Let's do it, man. This is a fair question. Who are you? What's your
name's
name?
Andrew.
Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Chicago, Illinois. Met Dewey in the Chi-Town Subaru group through friends of friends, actually. It wasn't just showing up one day blindly. I was actually told to go find this guy from a friend of mine who had a Subaru at the time. And I asked him a bunch of questions. And a lot of them were, what modifications can I make to my car without voiding my warranty? Turns out there is no such thing. As soon as you even look at it the wrong way, your warranty is probably on shaky ground. And so that was number one. And then number two was, I asked
That's
Dewey.
how he got his nickname.
Yeah. Number two was, I asked Dewey a lot of, I wanted to buy a lot of things that, most enthusiasts want to buy right in the beginning, like, 4-point harnesses and all these awful things. I think the first 4 items that I wanted to buy from Dewey, he told me no. And I was like, okay, I need to pay attention to this guy because he's not going to just sell me garbage. And started helping out after hours at Six Star, and then just after hours activities that Dewey was doing. And then he wanted to go racing. I started helping him with that. So yeah, I did a lot of just showing up and helping, even though I really didn't have a ton of car experience. I still haven't really changed my oil more than probably twice in my life. But yeah, turns out showing up and doing work is a good way to stick around. So that's what I did.
He's the hands-off enthusiast, and honestly, there's some I think it's good to have that voice, and I dig having him around. Plus, his brain works completely polar opposite of mine. What do you do for a living, Warranty?
I'm an actuary, so I do all the heavy math that underlies insurance companies. So right now, I live in the reserving department, which is making sure there's enough money to pay claims that have already happened. Because over time, things get worse, and your estimates are, accurate at the time, but they change and get worse over time. So that's what I do. I play defense in the land of insurance, but I don't handle claims. I just do the math.
So he's the guy figuring out how much they're supposed to charge you based on whatever the risk of whatever is. And I'm telling you, you don't know math until you talk to this guy. You should see him work spreadsheets. You don't know.
Spreadsheets are great. That's how I think. And I really admire people like Dewey, Dylan, who can just look at a mechanical problem and say, oh yeah, I know how to fix that. It's not natural to me. But if you say, spreadsheet, build this thing for me, I got you. All day, every day, even in my sleep.
So that's who Warranty is.
You got to introduce me, man, in these.
I did a while back, but I think that's a fair question.
Every episode, hey, Warranty's here. He's going to answer some things. He's the opposite.
He's my polar opposite. He's my Andy Richter, and he pops in, and he's a lot more organized than I am. So he's always helpful to keep me organized. So if he has extra time, I tend to bring him on with me to these, just to kind of keep stuff on topic and moderate a little bit. So he's really good about asking. It's real easy to glaze over things,
the complicated things. Yeah,
it can get and he's really good about bringing stuff back to earth if it needs to be, because sometimes it can get wild. So that's why he's around, and I like having Warranty here. So if he's ever got extra time, I tend to have him on, just hanging on in the background. He's been on recording with quite a few different people, just hanging out in the background, and he's went almost entire podcasts and not said a thing, but he's there in case it, something needs to be said, which is, it's good to have it. He's kind of the voice of, the everyman.
I like that. Thanks for the kind words. Thanks for asking, James. You might have seen me because I was at IAG last summer, helped Dewey deliver the race car from his house in Tennessee, and then he parked the truck and RV
James
trailer.
lives in Arizona.
Oh.
So James is there actually less than I am. It's impressive how little James is there. He is a ghost. And even when he is there, he's extraordinarily short. So he's really hard to see over the cubicle walls.
Okay, so he moves in silence.
He moves in silence.
Knifes people. Got it.
Just ordered 3 from you and ship back. Okay. There you go. Well, I appreciate that. We'll figure that out. See, there you go, James. We'll figure it out. Is it 100 in Arizona yet? Dork. Cortez, next time you're looking to order something, my guy, give us a call. We'll see if we can't make it up to you somehow, okay? What do we got? I feel like I missed something. Oh, Flanny Man, unequal versus equal length headers for a streetcar. Would you give up a better sound for a bit more flow?
This is assuming a lot.
I don't give it. No, it ain't. I'm going to tell you straight the hell up. If you're buying a damn header and you don't get an equal length header, I don't know what to tell you. The sound that you guys are all getting all bent up about, like that Subaru Rumble, whatever, I got to be real. What you're hearing is the sound of inefficiency. That burble part of it, that is exhaust pulses hitting each other. You are, not only is it going to spool slower, it's going to make less top end, and you're going to have more pressure on one side than you are on the other. So you're stressing one side of your engine more than you are the other. For what? Put an equal length header on there. They should have had them stock. In Japan, they did. That's why we have the bent. That's why we have the STI oil pan. It's bent that way for an equal length header. Because for twin scroll to work, you have to have an equal length header. Now, can you run around with your stock header? Sure, run around with your stock header. If you're gonna upgrade, get a freaking equal length header.
A proper EJ, equal length header, and a nice exhaust sounds good. It's a big assumption that unequal is the only way for the EJ to sound
James
good.
wants to party. This will be good. All right, just scream your scream.
All right. Equal length versus unequal length. I'll give you the quick rundown. If I hear your Subaru has an unequal length header, you're slow. Straight up.
Right.
If you want the car to do anything decent, have it sound like a normal car. When it comes to twin scroll versus open scroll, because that's normally the next follow-up question, there's 2 different methodologies of looking at it. I am a bigger fan of a long merge angle 4-to-1 collector going to like a V-band. The transition is very nice. It helps even out exhaust flow and scavenging. It's very important. Twin scroll does the same thing. In my opinion, twin scroll is a much older methodology of doing it. You can save weight and space doing a proper collector. However, if you have the room for it. Dewey may differ on this. We do different kinds of racing. Once again, it turns into application.
Actually, no. I may have differed with you at one point, but the amount of failures and bullshit and exhaust pressure that I ended up gaining from my twin scroll setup as compared to my current single scroll setup, I have absolutely no difference in spooler response.
Yep.
At this point, turbo technology has came so far. Twin scroll makes no sense.
Yeah, twin scroll doesn't make any sense. This is something that I'm very adamant about.
At least on an EJ. Okay.
No, it's on the majority of things as well. Exhaust properties are exhaust properties. However, when it comes to dealing with twin scroll versus open scroll, there's also a lot of things, especially when it comes to a street car and a race car, and this is things they share, of when you're adding twin scroll, you're adding more problems. So you have more wastegates, you're running more piping, everything's heavier. There's all sorts of things that you can have
the simplification of the shit going on under my hood was worth going to single scroll alone, even if I lost power, but I didn't lose spool, I didn't lose response, and I went from a BorgWarner EFR to a larger G35 1050.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to comment on the EFR, but
good turbo. The kit it was attached to wasn't, but the turbo was reliable and good, and it won me some shit for a while.
Yeah, after the 9180, I won't go near another one. That until you've had a piece of a turbine wheel shoot out of an exhaust and hit you in the leg, I don't want, you know what I mean? I'm over those things. But I mean, the Garrett stuff's really nice, especially the modern stuff. The
new
modern
G-Series stuff is awesome.
The G-Series stuff's nice. The next gen precision stuff's extreme right now. That stuff is incredible. Those are really the top two dogs right now. I love BorgWarner. Don't get me wrong there, but I like them for their Airworks division. I am not a fan of the EFR stuff. Just personally, I've had too many problems with them. I know they've fixed all their stuff since then, but
especially those early 9180s or the early big frame ones, they had a lot of problems. Did you ever hear exactly what went down with that? Because I actually know the company is based out of Muskegon, Michigan, that made their turbine wheels, and the turbine wheels were the parts that were coming apart, right?
Yes.
The company was called Eagle Alloy. Okay, it's just this little shithole.
Muskegon is a very nice area.
Muskegon's a great area. The ski town's all right, but it was really close to where I grew up. Either way, why a bunch of those failed in the beginning is a stupid story. And I don't remember the exact numbers of this, so bear with me. But essentially, BorgWarner said, okay, you're going to make these Gamma tie wheels, you're going to take this alloy, and you're going to pour them in at the same amount. And from this amount of metal, you're able to make, let's say, 10 of these wheels, okay? And you're able to make 10 of these turbine wheels, and anything that's left over, you chuck. So they were doing it right in the beginning, but then they realized, man, there's a lot of this material left over. So in order to save money, they started making 11. And I don't remember the exact numbers. But they started making more than they should have with what they were told they were supposed to be making. And then it was like every 11th one failed almost immediately. And so Eagle Alloy didn't get to make them anymore.
my big problem with them was, when I experienced a bunch of failures with them, because I've had one, put one on an S2000, put one on STI. I mean, a couple of big problems with them where you needed to run that sensor. Remember that, the wheel speed sensor? And
well, if you overspin, spin it. That's the same thing with the new Garretts too. If you overspin them, bad shit will happen.
Well, here's the thing: any turbo you overspin, but however, there should be a threshold of. Okay, here's where I'll be nice in saying this. If I'm running a 9180, which is a 67 mil, right, with a larger turbine housing, and if I can't run 40 pounds of boost in an STI with that, without the turbo self-destructing, there's a problem, and I have to spend thousands extra on sensors and everything else to do my best to try to limit it. Do you know how fast that wheel is going and how hard it is to catch it? To see if it's going to overspin if you go up one click. It's a bit extreme. So that turbo, they fixed a lot of it with the 9174 from the 9180. But at that point, I mean, the damage was done already.
Well, and then the 9280 that they released later on was another step up from that even.
Yeah, I haven't been involved with them, like I said, since like the 9180, 9174s.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much a wrap for me. After that, went back to PTE. If you want to make power, buy precision.
If you're trying to drag race, by all means, I'm never gonna poo on PTE. What I will say is I'm not a huge fan of PTE for road course stuff.
No, it's different. It's a different tool. Different tool for a different job.
Totally different. And like streetcar stuff and drag racing, it's great. But off throttle, boost threshold and lag are two different things. Okay, and that's the thing. Okay.
I'm sorry. Y Spec Auto asked a question about the YB trans, the one you asked about earlier.
Yeah.
Yes, we did touch on it. Is it worth doing it? No, it's the same exact thing as this is the VB for the 6-speed. Am I thinking of the VA one?
No, you're thinking VB and VA. They're using the same trans. So
no, I know that. I wasn't sure if he was the guy that was putting
one.
the 6-speed in it. Okay, from the STI. So is it worth it? No, it's the same thing.
Get an STI trans.
Buy an STI trans. What will help you with mile per gallon on the highway? That's pretty much it.
If that.
Yeah, pretty much.
It ain't it's really an extra because they changed the gearing for everything else.
Yeah, the other thing is they made some of the gears smaller. They did to fit the 6th. So there is issues at the thing is you're not doing power pulls in 5th and 6th gear in a WRX, right? At least you shouldn't be. If you are, you're asking for problems. But there's more potential of breakage. Yeah, there's more potential for breakage. However, they do seem to be holding up a little bit better. Then again, you're comparing them to like an 04 Bug-Eye trans that's had 20 years of hard abuse. So it's not worth it. If you blow one up, you can't afford a STI 6-speed, throw another stock trans in the car, you're good to go.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that's pretty much it. But yeah, going back to we had somebody. This is actually, now that you're on, we can answer this real quick. What about the Grimspeed equal/unequal link header? I think is what he was trying to say. The Grimspeed header is almost an equal length. It's close. It's so close that you can damn near call it an equal length. With that stated, because it is not perfectly equal, the exhaust pulses are not going to hit your turbine wheel equally. So you will be giving up some performance with that. It's how it works.
You want to hear my 2 cents on it?
Sure.
Don't half-ass it, just full-ass it. So either just stick with an equal length, or go or just commit.
That's pretty much answer to Subarus in general.
Yep.
Yeah. Just that's pretty much the response.
These cars do not like half-assing. Just you whole ass or don't ass at all.
Yeah, never half-ass 2 things, just whole-ass 1 thing. You know what I mean? And that's pretty much where you got to be.
Josh Aldrich, just buy the ETS and be done. ETS makes my favorite header.
Yeah, the Max Flow V2 is an incredible header.
It's so good, and good luck ever breaking that bastard.
No, they're built. They're military grade. Those things. They are.
That's a good way of putting it. I bet you can pick the car up from it.
No, you can. You can pick your car up with a lot of different headers, even the factory header. I've done it, but don't ask me why I've done that. But you can do a lot of these things. You can do a lot of things with these headers. But the ETS headers, right now, I don't want to be wrong saying this. I'm pretty sure they are the best flowing header on the market.
I think they are too. I don't know how you would prove that, but I think they are.
How back-to-back dyno pulls, you know what I mean? That's like a whole ordeal, though.
But then
and you got to be quick.
You'd have to be fast, and a lot of these are going to fall into some form of margin of error. You know, the temperature of the dyno room, is the engine warm or not? You know,
The easiest way to do it would probably be an engine dyno, but even then, it's not perfect.
No, a lot of these are going to be close. But with that stated, you really can't. The ETS stuff just works. You don't got to worry about that shit cracking. I love working with ETS. Those guys are great.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
B&M makes a good header too. I agree. B&M makes a good header. I don't want to say anything cross about B&M, but I can get you a ETS header within 6 months. Good luck trying to get a B&M header.
I wasn't going to say that. The first thing that crossed my mind, I'm like, yeah, they're a great header if you can get one. But it's a nice header, but they're. I mean, here's the thing. It's a one-man shop. I understand why he's doing it. Seems like a super nice guy. I've never dealt with him personally. He's a great dude. I've never dealt with him personally, never dealt with him professionally, but I've never run his products. But from what I have seen, it's a very nice piece. However, you will be waiting as he does things in the order received. So, and
I got to be real. I've seen that and the ETS header right next to each other, and I don't want to be that guy. I'd probably still go with the ETS, not knowing anything, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna, you know what I mean.
Well, I don't want to be that guy. And then, like, we got this dude Nurs in here. My B&M headers are heavy as fuck, too. Well, yeah. Well, your old Tomeys were also... Yeah. That's a really... That's a fairly lightweight header. But they're heavy, you know, but so are the ETSs. Like, that's not a light header.
The Tomeys, that is a very thin wall... cheap design They work. I mean, we have the same header as Tomei. It's a very good economy header.
It's solid for stock turbos or small turbo upgrades. You know, a 20G 1.5 XTR. It's fine.
They're perfect for that.
Yeah, you don't want to do anything more than that. You'd want bigger primaries anyway. So, it's a good small primary header for school and whatever.
If you're an average Joe, you want to drive the car around, you put an equal length header on it, you have a bunch of money, that is the header for you. They work great. Other alternative cheap headers is the HKS header. The ugliest header I've seen in my entire life.
God, it's hideous.
Header,
but it works.
But it works. It works great. But it is. Can I curse on this?
Yes. I've already dropped an F-bomb. It's fucking awful looking.
But it works. I mean, I made like 900 with it. I'm not telling you to do it, but they are. I mean, really spray painted black with some header paint or something. Like, don't just leave that thing out raw dogging itself. It's awful.
Who is Celeratech? The 84-1. Is that crazy looking V8 like LS header?
Like the sand cars and stuff like that. I'm not sure. I just know I can't afford it, so I've never looked into that.
Yeah,
anything like that is nuts.
That's one of the things I love about like the LS world is there's a lot of really crazy variations of like header design and things that they can do that there's just really no way to do that on our cars. You know what I mean?
Have you seen like the full on 8-to-1s?
Yeah,
those crazy headers.
Insane.
Yeah, those things cost I don't know like $7-8 grand probably is my guess at the minimum. And I don't know how long it takes to make them, but Jesus Christ! First of all, those things, the way they sound is incredible. You can't really top it. But they are and they performing exceptionally well. That's actually what the that controversial new fastest car in the world, the SSS, the SCT, SST, whatever it is. They run one of those. If I remember correctly, I think Nelson Racing Engines is the company that actually designed the header for it. They run a 8-to-1 collector. If I'm correct on that, I could be wrong.
That's wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's wild. Yeah, it's just a different world. You know, I'd be lying if I said I haven't recently been looking at C6 Z06s again. Shouldn't be doing that, but
one of the best cars of all time.
I know. I think it's so good. Everything is right about that car. Dylan wants back in. He probably heard that.
Interior is garbage.
It's so much better than the C5.
Whatever. God, no, it is not. Oh, here we go.
All right. The C5 interior is not good. The C6 interior is not good.
The C5 interior is awful. The C6 is passable. Like I'm not mad about it.
Everything it has everything you need and nothing more. Now, don't get me wrong.
It's everything you need out of a Malibu.
I'll say it's above. What I'll say is it reminds me of. It at least looks of the era, unlike the C5 interior, which looks like it should have been out of the 80s.
No, so the biggest
C4
thing is the
looks
climate.
Like it's out of the 80s.
Well, the C4 was
so the climate. The climate control in doubled in for the C6 is really bad. And there's actually a company out there that's integrated like a tablet, almost CAN bus, into it to control everything via touchscreen, and it actually looks pretty slick once you install that. They're stupid expensive, but that literally brings the interior up to date because there's really not much else in there besides the 2002 Malibu AC control and the weird double din that they came out with. Other than that, I really can't complain. I mean, I daily mine.
Yeah.
Here's what I'll say about the C6. I think it's the best vet ever made. I think it's one of the best sports cars ever made. I think the way it looks in the exterior, damn near perfect for a sports car. To this day, I think it's going down as one of the timeless greats. Is the C6, Z06, ZR1 especially. The base, like the 05s, I think are terrible looking. But another one of my favorites exterior wise, I love the C5 Z or the FRC, the fixed roof coupe. I love the C5s. The C7 I think had the best interior out of them all, and the C8s I just hate as a whole. There's nothing that's going to get me on that. On the C8s.
I think C8s look like Decepticons.
I can't say what I was going to say because that's going to get me canceled. But the C8
Have you driven
is
a boosted one yet, though?
a boosted C8.
Yeah.
No, I've actually never driven a
I mean,
C8.
I'm not going to say anything about the performance of it, but I can't stand the way it looks. Like I every time I'd look at it, I'd be like, I wish that looked like a C6. I think the C6 just looks fantastic.
Do you know what actually killed that car for me? So in pictures when they first got leaked, I was like, oh, that thing's awesome, looks great. You see it in person, it's like, oh man, that's terrible. And then when you open the door and they have some half-assed like flap thing that hangs over, that I'm like, that I can't do it. I thought it was just an ugly design on that car, and I don't know. When they were coming out, the big thing was that versus the new Supra, right? Which people also hated. Yeah. People still hate him for some reason. I was on Team Vet. I've switched. I like the Supras a lot more now. I think it's a nice car. I'm a BMW fanboy. If you guys don't know that about me, the B58's a great engine. I don't like the C8s. If I'm spending that money, I'm not buying either one. I'm buying a Porsche.
I've played with both quite a lot. I've boosted C8s and I've built high horsepower A90s. I've driven both of them. I will say a boosted C8, if you take away the I don't like the rear end of the car. I think they did a horrible design job from the rear wheels back. It's a lot to fit back thing. I don't like it. And owning a C6, I also love C7s, but the C8 just wasn't quite there. In the front of the car, I like, but I'm telling you, a boosted one with a Pro Charger or even twin turbo, like 700 horse, it's just right. Now, my only complaint with the A90s is their stock seats. I don't know if it's just because they're not broken in yet or what, but after sitting in an A90 for about 2 hours, I was just irritable with how the seat felt and the comfortability of it. It just wasn't there for me. The performance of it, they're phenomenal. I really love the A90, and between the two, I would probably pick an A90 over a C8, even being that guy.
I mean, I agree there. I mean, I don't know the seats. I've driven Supras. I can't remember.
So far off the rails at this point.
I know. Yeah, I should get back on topic, but I will say this: if I'm spending C8 money or I'm spending A90 money, I'm buying a 718.
Okay, well let's have this conversation real fast then. Okay, so what are you considering A90 money? What's A90 money?
I'm talking new, like 60 grand.
Okay, so we got 60 grand to blow.
Yeah, base C8.
I guarantee there are people who are going, and it would be guys who are my age, 40, 42 years old, going, well, I can go buy an A90 Supra, or I can go buy the 05 STI I wanted when I was 20 or 25 or whatever, and pour some cash into it. And have the car that I always wanted back in the day. I know they're not exactly comparable, but do you see people cross-shopping that quite a bit these days? I do.
I mean, yeah, you will, but I don't know. If I had to buy a car in that area, I'm buying a 911 turbo, like a 997. But I know it's completely, once again, off what we're talking about here. But I have done, a lot of money to an STI. You've done it, right? It's a properly set up STI, especially like I went out when I bought mine. The VA was the current chassis.
I want to throw this out there. What people believe the properly set up STI is also differs depending on who you talk to. You and I are so far apart on what the properly set up STI is.
Yeah, so I'm a big street car guy, and I like power, right? Yep. I come from domestics. I come from drag Hondas. I've learned, at least at this point in my life, that I like a comfortable car that I can get in and out of, something that doesn't annoy me, something that doesn't feel super cheap. And I want to be able to go on the highway with it. I want to be able to, drag race. I enjoy that kind of stuff, right? Yep. So for me, my pick was the GR chassis. Sure. I think it's great for that. I like the updates they did with the chassis. I like the interior updates. I mean, I'm a huge blah blah guy, but if I'm buying one, I'm a big GR guy, and I think they are a phenomenal car. I think the 2011 STI in particular, that specific year, is the best looking STI. Well, second best looking STI behind the 05. Had the interior updates, black headlights, but had the facelift. I'm a little particular with that. But I think the GR is, people like VAs. People are huge VA guys. I'm a big GR guy, personally. I don't know. That's what I was looking for, plus the money for them. I don't think there's a better buy right now than a GR STI, especially like an 08 to 10. You could get them for so cheap, and I
will tell you right now that 08 to 10 STIs are the best deal right now. But so when you're talking some power, what kind of power are you talking about?
When I originally bought my car, I wanted to make 700. That was my goal with it, because I was.
So if you're talking to a customer and a customer says, well, what would you want to do with your car? You'd say, I want a street car with 700, right?
Yeah. So I'll give you. Mine's gonna be a little effective at the time when I did it. But when I bought my car, I was looking for a stock 08 to 10 STI. I wanted the hatch, and with that, I wanted. Originally I was gonna put an FE Black on the car and make it like 550, 600. I thought that was gonna be a perfect daily drive tune from work, do some fun street stuff with it, and just enjoy the car for what it is. Because I've had a insane amount of fun with bigger stock location turbos. Then I bought my car. It came with a rotated kit, and I got it for stupid cheap. I paid $6,000 running and driving for my STI, and it came with a rotated like 3076 on it, 3071. I ended up selling all that stuff. I built an engine for it, and I got a great deal on a Precision 6766. Got an ETS kit on it because I don't remember what rotated kit was on it at the time. Did all that to it in the car. My goal was to make like 750. That's all I wanted. Ended up making like 940 or something like that because we sent to the moon. And I've had 900 horsepower, 980 horsepower STIs before. That wasn't my goal for that car, but it was so much fun, and the car was, not into the politics of it, but I had some problems with it. Redid it again. My goal was 1,000. Made more than that. However, the way I set it up, I mean, if you look at, there's a video on my car specifically, full interior, air conditioning. I wanted every single factory feature in that vehicle. I did not want to make it a race car. That was never the intention of it. I hate when people call it a drag car. It was a street car, first of all. It was just a big power one. What's up?
Okay. Well, I want to do a quick toss on what my ideal STI is.
Yeah.
And then, so depending on what people are looking for, this may be who you want to ask for when you call. Okay. My ideal STI only makes about 450. Because I think you start opening up Pandora's box after that. So basically what I want is everything that the stock car did, just better. Without giving up anything that the stock car did. You could still have AC, you could still have all that. You even sacrifice a little bit of horsepower. You could get away with even doing a top mount. Like, you really keep it simple. Like, IAG 750 block, smaller stock location turbo, a little bit bigger in a 20G. I tend to do a lot of 1.5 XTRs because I think the sizing is right. And whatever horsepower it makes, I don't really give a shit. I'm really more worried about response and area under the curve and a car that can do whatever the hell you want it to do. 450 in an STI, if you can drive that thing, could toss you into a high 10 quarter. Okay, absolutely. 450 in STI will get you in trouble in all 50 states in 3 seconds. Like, it is a very rapid car, and for street light to street light, you're going to have a 450 can get you into a lot of trouble and take down a lot of shit with a whole lot more power. So my idea of the perfect STI, in my opinion, is 450. Now, if you're past that, you better have a damn good reason.
Mine is dependent on the chassis. So obviously the bigger chassis, the heavier ones, GR, VA, stuff like that, they need more. 450 is great for a GD. It's insane for a GC. But if you're doing a GR or a VA chassis, I think the real happy spot for that car is 556. And I think that's going to give you the same feeling as you will like in an 04 STI, make it around 450. That's my personal happy spot. However, though, to hit that number is quite a bit more. It's a totally different tax bracket.
Well, I mean, you're still using the same, essentially the same engine. So,
well, yeah, essentially the same engine. However, you're adding a bunch of weight to it, and just the whole way. Because here's the thing: in an 04, in a GD and GC chassis, with standard chassis, standard suspension. Let's just go off that, right? Maybe get some coilovers. Making 450 is going to feel a lot faster than making 450.
Well, that
and
chassis
a GR
is also
chassis.
different too. A GR chassis, they did make them a bit softer and a bit more refined. So,
yeah, that's what I'm saying is you need more power to get that feeling.
The GDs, they were super tossable. Honestly, like big power in a GD, unless you go and do work to it, set it up correctly, can feel real sketchy.
Oh, I've done some sketchy shit.
I've done some sketchy shit too. Don't get me wrong. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so, I'm a big I'm a big fan of the newer chassis. Makes them getting old now. If you want to have the most fun possible, GD chassis, in my opinion. If you want the most refined, the newer chassis, VA. Yeah. If you want and kind of an in between, it's the GR. If cost is one of the main factors in picking your Subaru,
by a long shot, the best deal you can get with a Subaru right now is an early GR STI.
100%.
It's not even close. I've seen them as cheap as running, like you could drive the thing home for like $12,000. It's unreal.
Yeah. I bought mine for $6,000.
It's ridiculous.
I mean? But and that was years
we gotta
ago.
end this thing, man.
Yeah,
we gotta end this thing. We're almost 6:00, so I'm calling it, guys. Yep. It's been a lot of fun. I hope we can do this again. We're gonna do more of these. The Ask Dewey stuff. I like these open-ended ones because we get into all sorts of weird topics, and who knows where the hell they're gonna go. We even talked about Corvettes today. I mean, we were everywhere. So we're gonna do more of these.
Question.
Yeah, sure. What do you got?
Final question.
Question. Dylan gets the end.
2006 Tahoe.
What?
Okay. 2006 Tahoe. Do I buy it used, got lifter noise, and then just put a truck noise cam in it and send it, or do I avoid doing that whole go?
I mean, is this your car?
Are we trying to buy a Tahoe? What are we doing?
Yeah, I'm gonna buy a Tahoe and put a cam in.
Just turn the radio up.
Yeah,
you want to hear it?
Fucking turn her up, bud.
Turn the radio on. Sounds good. All right, that answers my question.
We fixed her. All done, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Happy we could help.
All right, guys. That's it.
All right, yeah, these are fun. I want to do these more. It's been real. It's been fun. It's been real fun. We'll see you guys next week.